Welcome to the John and Heidi Show podcast.
John and Heidi.
Here's John and Heidi.
Thank you for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Friday. Holy cow, tomorrow is New Year's Eve. How did that happen? This year has gone too fast.
Yes, I can't wait until it's gone.
I am actually kind of excited just for a different year.
I am so excited for 2017.
What a crazy year 2016 has been. If you're a Cubs fan, I mean, that's awesome. I mean, think of some of the things that happened this year that were just unbelievable, but there are also some crazy things that happened too. Coming up, we've got a guest. I think this is pretty darn cool. I'm going to be visiting with a guy by the name of Winston Groom. He's got a book out called El Paso. Now, the name Winston Groom might be familiar to some people because he had this other book out that was kind of successful. It was called Forrest Gump. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the author of Forrest Gump, Winston Groom, is going to be on the radio program with us here in just a little bit. The planet Saturn has density lower than water. So if there was a bathtub large enough to hold it, Saturn would float. It's kind of crazy.
It is. Interesting.
And a dromedary camel can drink as much as 100 liters of water in just 10 minutes.
What's a dromedary camel?
It's a particular kind of camel that can drink a lot of water. Don't know. I knew you'd ask me that. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
Today is a special day, Heidi. Do you know what today is?
What is today, John?
Thought you'd never ask. It's Friday, December the 30th. Could be perhaps the best day of the year because today is Bacon Day.
I have a nephew that loves bacon.
And you have a husband that loves bacon. I love bacon.
I don't think quite as much as my nephew does.
Yeah, he's got like bacon stuff.
Yeah.
I don't have any of that. But
yeah.
I like to eat bacon. Do you remember on our honeymoon? How much bacon do you think I put away on our
Only
honeymoon?
because you didn't like anything else that they had.
And there was a buffet with bacon, and I ate a bunch. I bet I ate like 2 pounds of bacon.
I'm surprised you didn't die on that
no
vacation.
kidding. I could feel my blood slowing down. But today is Bacon Day. You know how to celebrate with bacon. Also, it's Falling Needles Family Fest Day, whatever that means. And it is No Interruptions Day. So there'll be none of that, Heidi. No interruptions. Know what I mean? Mm-hmm. No interrupting. Just nod your head. Okay, that's more like it. Today is a special day. It's Friday, December the 30th. Put that finger away. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
This is my favorite time of year. The lights, the fun parties, and the family get-togethers. Many of us have boxes of home videos capturing these memories. But sadly, these memories are fading away because the videotape was not the best format. My friend CJ has a business called Tape It Up Reproductions. They transfer your precious memories to a digital format with the option to enhance the audio and the video to make them look and sound better than ever. His website is tapingitup.com, or you can call or text 412-766-1679.
John and Heidi.
You know it's true because you heard it on the radio. If your car was stolen and then you see it on the street one day, what do? You call the police, right? Well, one woman wishes that she had not called the police. If you steal a car back from the people who stole it from you in the first place, is that stealing? You be the judge.
It shouldn't be. It's yours.
Well, recently a woman stumbled across her stolen car parked in the street. Still had her belongings in it and her tax documents, but it had a steering wheel lock that was changed. She figured it was a clear opportunity for the police to catch the thieves and she'd get her car back. But she was stunned when she called the police to let them know, hey, here's a chance. You won't believe what they said. They told her, we're busy. Go ahead and steal the car back yourself. Yeah, the police told her, just go ahead and steal it yourself. They suggested, take a hacksaw and cut off that steering wheel lock. This is seriously what they told her on the phone. In the end, she had no other choice but to do that because police couldn't come. After she stole her car back, the police did take the plates for fingerprinting. The plates had been changed. They said they could not stake out the car because they don't have the resources for that. And there's no guarantee the person would actually come back. Could have been somebody that bought the car. They might not have been the one that stole it. Anyway, investigations are pretty much done. They said they could put themselves in danger of starting a pursuit. So there's a whole lot of things that they couldn't do.
My God. So put a citizen in danger instead.
No, they just said, hey,
I think that police department maybe needs to have some sort of an investigation done on them.
It does not say which town this was in.
I can't imagine anything going down like that in any community that we have ever lived in.
No, me neither.
Ever.
No. So
they would never say,
it was probably,
just steal it yourself.
It was probably a really, really, really big city, I'm guessing. Because if they had like a steering wheel lock on the car that they had just stolen, and it still had all of her stuff in it, which is the crazy thing. So They're saying, well, it might not even be the people that stole it. They might have sold it to somebody. You sell a car with all the stuff still in it?
Exactly.
Either way, you know it's true because you heard it on the radio.
John and Heidi.
The John and Heidi Show is brought to you in part by the Keystone Treatment Center.
This is your brain, and this is your brain on drugs. We share silly stories here on the program, but addiction is no joke. If you or someone you know suffers with an addiction to drugs or alcohol, make today the day you seek help.
Call toll-free 844-204-1055.
That's a toll-free number. Again,
844-204-1055.
And this is your brain on drugs. Police in Somerset County, Pennsylvania stopped a 50-year-old Robert Sadlin for a broken tail light. However, before they could talk to him or even get his identity, he fled the scene on foot. He ran straight home, shaved his mustache, and changed his clothes, and then called police and said somebody stole my truck.
That's a good idea.
Same officer that stopped him went to Robert's home to investigate the theft. He found the freshly shaven Robert in different clothing, but the not-so-clever disguise did not really fool anybody. He was arrested for drunken driving, escape, and related charges.
At least he tried. Got to give him an A for effort there.
Yeah, they're like, well, I love the new shave job. And that's a nice new shirt, but you're still you. I can tell that was you. So, you know what? Yeah, like you said, A for effort, but complete failure for drinking and driving. Don't do that. Coming up, we've got your moment of duh. That's on the way.
John and Heidi.
Now your moment of duh. Christmas wasn't so merry for everybody. In St. Louis, about 200 teenagers went wild at a movie theater on Christmas Day. Apparently all started when two girls started fighting over the same boy. So was he in the middle holding each one of their hands, you think? I don't know what was going on. Anyway, broke out to hundreds of people in the brawl before they finally broke it up. Yeah, it turned into a big old thing.
Jeez.
You know what? Most people, there's a thing called movie rage. I think we've talked about this before. Have we talked about movie rage?
Yeah.
There's a book where there's a gentleman. What is this? Oh, it's called Movie Rage. That's the book. Anyway, he talks about what is making people so mad. And it says here, talking is the number one thing. Kicking the back of the person's seat in front of you, that makes people mad. Blurting out the ending of a movie makes people mad. Tipping boxes of candy, making all kinds of noise with candy. Rattling plastic candy bags. Answering cell phones. Crunching popcorn. Sucking, the last couple dribbles out of that straw. And again, number one was talking. So if you want to make people mad at the movie, now you know what to do.
I can honestly say I've never had a situation where I thought I need to smack that person.
I've never. No.
Ever. At a theater.
No.
I should clarify. At a theater.
Yeah.
Because there have been other situations.
All the time.
But at a movie theater, there's one time where I thought a mother should smack her kid because the kid kept running up and down all the aisles during the movie. But otherwise, I've not ever had that situation.
Coming up, we have your scoop of the day. That's on the way.
The Scoop of the Day is brought to you by Wells Blue Bunny. If you want delicious ice cream, be sure to look for the Blue Bunny. Sure to have your favorite flavors. Learn more at bluebunny.com.
Now your scoop of the day. A Harvard psychologist who studies dreams recently said that dogs likely dream of our faces, our scents, and trying to please us.
Oh, isn't that nice?
Yeah, I got a feeling our dogs don't dream of that. I think our dogs dream of... I think Miley probably dreams of running. I let Miley out. We have two dogs, Mandy and Miley. We used to have a fenced-in backyard, and she would just run and run.
She did.
And run. Now we don't, and I have to hook her up. And it was like really cold, and I was like, oh, they're not going to... I'm going to just let her out. She's going to come right back in. No. She was running.
Took off running.
Yeah, she runs like a rabbit. She like
does.
hops.
She's so stinking cute.
Hey, the house in Austria where Adolf Hitler was born is going to be torn down by the government to keep it from becoming a neo-Nazi shrine. Just finally getting around to this? Huh. I mean, seriously? What was the holdup there?
Maybe somebody was living in it.
I have no idea. I think that's crazy that, hey, you know what? Let's finally tear down Hitler's house. My boyhood home has been torn down for years because it was a shrine to bad jokes everywhere. So.
Oh, my gosh.
That's not why? Okay. Hey, actor Judge Reinhold was arrested Thursday. I think this is like a week ago, though. And this was in Dallas at Love Field. I already told Heidi. It was for disorderly conduct. He flipped out going through TSA, took off his shirt, and started swearing.
I can't imagine Judge Reinhold doing that.
No. He seems like such a nice guy.
Right. I thought you were, when you first told me this, I was picturing Judd Nelson. Now that I could see.
Yeah, that makes sense. But this
Judge
makes,
Reinhold, I can't see that.
Not at
I just
all.
can't see that happening.
I just don't get it. Hey, researchers in England say they may have the problem of baldness solved. Well, that's good. They discovered a protein code that tells cells to grow more hair. Scientists at the University of Manchester, they found that by sending this code to these little rats, the rats grow more fur. So they're thinking they could use this same code to send to people and help us grow more fur. Hope it's not rat fur, though.
I would love for my hair to grow in thicker. It's been thinning out a lot here lately.
Yeah.
But all the new ones would come in would all be gray anyway. So I think I'm better off with just thin hair.
I like your hair just the way it is. Hey, according to London's Telegraph, if your surname, that's your last name, by the way,
Thank
if it's
you.
Morgan, or if it's Kidd, or if it's Teach, or if it's Rackham, or Bonnie, or Reed, there's a good chance you are a relative to a pirate. People with these names could very well be related to Britain's most famous pirates. Kidd, Morgan, Teach, Rackham, Bonnie, and Reed. Do you know anybody with those last names? Are they
I do
pirate
not.
type folks?
I don't think I know anybody with those names.
I'm trying to think if I do. Probably not. Hey, a new study suggests that Alzheimer's could actually be passed from one person to another. That's interesting. So they were thinking maybe it was like hereditary before? Is that what they're thinking? I'm not sure.
Our daughter told me the other day that you think Alzheimer's is contagious.
Yeah, I was telling her about this.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
read
she was
this.
like, Dad thinks Alzheimer's is contagious. I came home from work and that was like the first thing she told
Because
me.
I said that I couldn't believe that. I was like, does that sound... So I was telling her not to hang around me because I was like, I think I might be, I don't want it to rub off on you. And our final story, a 5-year-old in Scotland was worried that his favorite soccer player might have missed him at the game, rather. So little Louis Callies called the team to apologize for him missing the game because he had to go to a friend's birthday.
Oh,
So he didn't
how
go to the game.
Sweet.
And he thought, well, I always go to the game, and since I wasn't there, I thought you might miss me. So I just wanted to let you know why. It's my friend's birthday party. So
What a
how adorable is
cutie.
that? I think that's pretty darn cool. Coming up in a moment, we've got a special guest. We'll be chatting with the author of Forrest Gump. He's got a new book out called El Paso. That's on the way on the John and Heidi Show. Thanks for listening on a Friday.
John and Heidi.
Radio advertising works. When it's done right, it works even better. There are many things you can do to get a better response, and shouting sale really isn't the best thing, believe it or not. Did you know that when you put words to music, they're 9 times more memorable? If you're trying to get people to remember your company, consider a jingle. We work with one of the very best jingle companies in the business, and we'd love to use music to help you grow your company. Learn more and hear examples at RadioReallyWorks.com. That's RadioReallyWorks.com.
John and Heidi.
Thank you for listening to the John and Heidi Show. We got a special guest joining us today, an author. He's got a bunch of fantastic books out there, and there's a bunch of these that you've actually heard of. So sometimes we talk to brand new authors. He's not a brand new author. He's got some experience doing this. His name is Winston Groom. Winston, how are you doing, sir?
I'm well, sir. How are you?
Fantastic. Now, I got to tell you, I was going to throw this out in your intro, but I wanted to wait to let people know who this guy is. There's a book that you had a chance to write called Forrest Gump, and it was turned into a huge, epic movie. Congratulations on the success of that, my friend. That was amazing.
Well, thank you. They did make a movie out of that, didn't they?
They did. It turned into a little bit of a success for some guy named Tom Hanks. So now, when you had a chance to watch the movie, how did you? Because I read the book and I watched the movie, and the character was a little different in the movie than he was in the book. How did you feel when you watched the movie? Did you say he did a good job?
Oh, yeah, he did a great job. It's not my first rodeo. I've had other movies made of books, and it's very strange. You sit there for the first 10 minutes, and you listen to words rolling off of actors' tongues that you wrote, and it's a little strange. And then after about that length of time, you just get used to it. You sink in and get in with the movie. And that's what I did with Forrest Gump, and I thought it was a heck of a good show.
It was very good. Now, you also were a Pulitzer Prize finalist. So, again, a lot of the time when I'm talking to people, usually if they're chatting with me, they're kind of new and getting started and trying to make a name for themselves. You have definitely made a name for yourself, and you've got a new book out called El Paso, a novel by Winston Groom. Tell me a little bit about El Paso. What was the concept here when you were putting this together? Where did this idea come from?
Well, it came from an old friend of mine who, Eddie Morgan, who was a New York Morgan. I think J.P. Morgan was his great uncle or something. And he used to tell me stories about his grandfather, who had a big ranch down in Mexico back in the beginning, I think, about the 1880s and on through the turn of the century. They had, I think, 1.5 million acres of land, had a cattle ranch. And back then, the Mexican government had sold off really most of northern Mexico to very wealthy Americans because the Mexican government simply couldn't deal with the infrastructure. They were in a state of eternal war, and the people who lived in northern Mexico were they were just impoverished, and so they sold off land to people like the Harrimans who built railroads. The railroad's still there. And the Guggenheims who built mines and so on. Anyway, the Morgans had this big cattle ranch, and at one point, Pancho Villa, who was the revolutionary bandit general, he had been leaving the Americans alone, but he got mad at Woodrow Wilson because President Wilson had recognized his arch enemy as the leader of Mexico, and so he began to savage the Americans. And he went on the Morgan's ranch and he strung up their ranch manager and had him sabred to death and kidnapped a couple of his children. And so I sort of took it from there. And I changed that to have because it's a novel. I can do that. And he kidnapped the children in my book of the owner of the ranch. And so the rest of the story is basically a manhunt through the high Sierras after these two children. And so it's a big old sprawling epic Western story.
And, you know, the neat thing is I like the fact that it's based on something that happened, but I also like the fact that it is a novel, so that gives you the liberty to, you know, make it as exciting and interesting as you can. Because, you know, sometimes history, it can be exciting, but sometimes you're like, well, boy, it would be a better story if it was this way. What percentage of this would you say is, like, historically accurate, and what percentage is just more, you know, your creative control to make it a great story?
Well, I think I'm trying to make it all historically accurate. Meaning that I don't, you know, we don't have King George in the middle of it all or something like that. But it's 90% fiction. I mean, all the characters, not all the characters are fiction. Actually, I dropped a bunch of real characters in there. But what they did, for instance, Tom Mix, the old cowboy star, and Ambrose Bierce, the guy who wrote the Devil's Dictionary, the old crusty journalist, and John Reed, he was a communist, American communist journalist, and I was just going to drop them in as cameos, but they seemed to fit, so I left them in. And so it really it's a novel. It's all fictionalized, but there's a framework of historical events and characters that contain the story. I just like to think of it as a really exciting adventure story.
Very cool. That's a great way to describe it. It sounds like a fantastic book. It's available right now. It's called El Paso. Again, our guest today has been Winston Groom. And Winston, in addition to this book, like we said at the beginning of the interview, he's also the author of the book Forrest Gump and many others. So congratulations on all your success. But I also want to say thank you for your service. I'm reading here that you served in Vietnam. So thank you very much for your service to our country, sir.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. It's been a long time ago.
Even though it was a long time ago, it still matters to me and it matters to many. So thank you very much for your service. And it's interesting. Now, there were scenes in the movie and in the book of Forrest Gump that were very much tied to the Vietnam War. So having firsthand experience being there, that makes a lot of sense that you would have made sure that was in the book. So that makes a ton of sense now.
Well, I think you write what you know about, and that's always been a good watchword for me when I'm writing it. It gives it an authenticity, and also, you feel more comfortable in those clothes when you really know about things, and you're not just guessing at it. You make sense of it.
Well, again, Winston Groom has been our guest. Winston, thank you so much for taking the time to visit with us today.
It's my pleasure.
Again, the book is called El Paso. It is available right now. And I guess, Winston, before I let you go, If they want to make a big screen movie about this one, do you have somebody that you'd like in the lead role? Is there somebody in your mind? Would it be Tom Hanks or would it be someone else?
Oh, goodness gracious. I don't know. You know, I leave the actor picking to the Hollywood people.
Okay.
That's what they like to do. They enjoy that. But I don't know. I would kind of feature in my head, if I had to pick people, I would pick Tommy Lee Jones and Robert Duvall. But I don't know if they're available anymore.
There you go.
But you know, there's a whole bunch of people that are very good actors out there now, and I'm sure that the way I like to do it is I like to, if I do a script, I say, "All right, I'm going to write the script. You pick the stars. Don't do it the other way around. Don't tell me how to write a script for somebody, because that just didn't make any sense."
That sounds.
I've had that happen before.
Well, it sounds like you're doing it the right way, because you're first of all you're having a tremendous amount of success doing it that way, but also it allows you to create a character that matters, and then they can figure out who fits that role. Rather than you trying to write a character, so
I just want that actor to be out there, walk out and stand on the chalk and say the words that I wrote and do it well, and not try to do it for the actor, which I think is always a big mistake. That's one of the biggest mistakes they make out there.
Well, Winston, thank you again, sir. You have a great day.
Thank you, sir.
Again, Winston Groom, author of the brand new book. It's a novel called El Paso. It's available right now. Thank you for listening to The John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
When is the last time you changed the air filter on your furnace? Now, don't be embarrassed. That happens to a bunch of us. The furnace filter should be changed often. This will help your heating and cooling system run more efficiently, and it'll even extend the life of your system. Now, there's an easy way to make it happen. Filter Easy, a new subscription service that delivers your size filter right to your door on the schedule you choose. It's easy. Filter Easy. One less thing to worry about. Learn about a special offer available now at radiosavings.com.
John and Heidi.
Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
Texas produces more wool than any other state in the country. Didn't think... Yeah.
Really?
Whoa. Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
Your hair is the same strength as aluminum. Interesting. Speaking of hair...
Aluminum is not very strong.
Well, it's the same strength as your hair. Hair grows at 1/72nd of an inch per day, or about 1/2 of an inch per month. Age affects the growth of hair. The fastest growth is between ages 15 and 30, with a sharp decline between the ages of 50 and 60.
Well, there you
So
go.
there you go. Interesting stuff about hair. And our final fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
Your skin makes up about 16% of your total body weight. So that's why I'm so overweight. I just got a lot of extra skin. That's what it is. Like one of those Shar-Pei dogs.
There are people with extra skin. You shouldn't joke about
I got
that because
way too much skin.
It's quite a
Is
problem.
it a calamity? Is that what's going on? And our final fun fact for you, because I found one more.
What's that, John?
Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
Only 1 person in 2 billion will live to be over 116 years old. 1 in 2 billion.
Yeah,
So
I
your
won't
odds
be one
are
of
not
them.
so hot.
I do not want to be, even in my 90s. I have
What?
no desire.
I do. I want you to be in your 90s.
Oh, no.
I want to be there with you. I just think
I'll
you're
be
going to be a really
good.
fun old lady.
I'd be awesome
You're gonna be
to die around like 72.
No, you want to be in your 90s because you're going to be a hoot at the nursing home. I think
I don't want to be in a
the
nursing home. That's the
shenanigans you're
point.
going to pull. Can you imagine Heidi in the nursing home? I think that would be awesome. Can we go now? I just think it'd be a hoot. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
This is Richard Lustig, the world's first and only 7-time lottery game grand prize winner. Since I endorsed Lottolicious, I have won something every single draw. They do all the work. You don't have to worry about running to the store to buy your tickets. They take care of all that. So if you're looking for the best way to play the lottery, to give yourself the best chance of winning, go to RadioLottoPool.com and join today. Again, that website is RadioLottoPool.com.
John and Heidi.
Thank you for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Friday. We are almost done with the entire year. I mean, today's the last Friday of the year. Tomorrow's the last day of the year. New Year's Eve tomorrow night. I can't believe it. If you're a person who loves football, you might want to watch closely when the college bowl games happen. It says then there's NFL playoffs. I'm not a big football guy, so I don't know. Maybe all this stuff is done. A new study has found, though, that deaths from heart attacks jump 50% during football matches. And this is in Holland.
So they're talking soccer.
Yeah, football.
Yeah.
But they're saying that they think that this might be something in the United States, too. Researchers attribute the deaths to an increase in stress that men have experienced because their team is, like, doing well or not doing well.
Yeah,
So they're
people
getting-
freak out over sports, like big time.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I cannot relate because there's nothing, we're not involved in that.
No.
We're not, because I have people ask, oh, who's your favorite team? I'm like, I don't have one. My father-in-law likes the Bears, so I'm like, I'll root for them. I guess those guys. He roots for the Bears or whoever's playing the Vikings.
Yes.
Although it was funny, last weekend he was rooting for the Vikings. I was like, how many beers did you have, Charlie? I've never seen you root for the Vikings.
No, he hasn't, but he said he needed to keep the other team
It's
down.
like, oh, they got to beat the Packers, otherwise we're in trouble. Anyway, so they're saying during these games, there's an increase in death from heart attack and stroke, and it is significantly higher on the days of the game. So that is kind of crazy. And it says some of these even start 5 days before and 5 days after the games. People getting heart attacks jumped 50% during the games. That's a big number. It's huge.
Yeah.
So there you go.
For me, those stressful times come around presidential election
Yeah, I know.
times.
I remember watching the debates with you and watching,
Oh my gosh.
the election night with you. And
The debates are my playoffs.
Yeah,
And the
pretty
election
much.
is my Super Bowl. So
Pretty much.
I kind of lose my mind
and
just a little
then I don't
bit.
let her talk about politics on the radio, which is, it's kind of her own personal little torture here. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Friday.
John and Heidi.
This is my favorite time of year. The lights, the fun parties, and the family get-togethers. Many of us have boxes of home videos capturing these memories. But sadly, these memories are fading away because the videotape was not the best format. My friend CJ has a business called Tape It Up Reproductions. They transfer your precious memories to a digital format with the option to enhance the audio and the video to make them look and sound better than ever. His website is tapingitup.com, or you can call or text 412-766-1679.
John and Heidi.
Hey, if you want to get rid of those dry, scaly feet, you're supposed to buy a carp. Or maybe not.
What?
But a salon in Virginia is offering fish pedicures, where clients' feet are submerged in tubs containing what they call doctor fish. Yes, this is a thing. Treatment replaces razors, which have been deemed unsanitary.
Yeah.
Clients report the procedure is kind of ticklish. It's followed by a typical pedicure, which is reportedly easier because the skin is softened by the fish. So these fish, like, nibble on your toes?
Oh, that's
apparently?
disgusting.
I think so, too. It's kind of weird. You wouldn't want to get a big fish. You bite your toe off. What'd you get over there? It's a piranha pedicure. It's not good.
Gross.
Anybody got a bandage?
No, thank you.
Anyway, I've never even had a regular pedicure.
Me
'cause I'm
either. I
kind of
do
weird about
not
that.
like people touching
Yeah,
my feet.
I know. I don't think I'd be able to do that. Just not. Hey, if you're into that kind of thing, that's cool for you. Just not for me. All right. Coming up, we're going to talk about a teacher that's on the way.
John and Heidi.
Anytime a teacher is in the news, it's usually not good, is it? It's like very rare that you have like a teacher story that's like, yay. This one here, this teacher got fired, so I'm sure it's not good. Andrew Phillips, an English teacher at Covina High School, assigned his students to devise an assassination plan
Yikes.
and explain how you'd get away with it. He instructed the students to write an assignment as a journal entry in conjunction with the reading of Edgar Allan Poe's short story, The Pit and the Pendulum. He told them, choose somebody to kill, give reasons why, and detail how to keep it secret. According to the students, the only requirement was that the person to be assassinated could not be anybody at our school. Students who didn't want to do the assignment were offered an alternative assignment. Describe 8 or 10 motives for killing another human being.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah, maybe you
This
just...
teacher might be a little bit deranged.
Maybe you just tell him next time, just read the book and then do a book report.
Oh, my God.
He got fired over this, which I think is maybe the right answer there.
I think he might have some issues.
That is nuts.
He might have been looking for some ideas on how to deal with the person who was about to fire him.
So, interestingly enough, they've all been killed. The school board's gone. No, they haven't. Coming up in a moment, we've got some good news. That's on the way. And between now and then, we're going to talk about bowling and your breath. That's on the way.
John and Heidi.
This time of year, we celebrate with family and friends.
And sometimes that involves drinking.
If you're going to be celebrating, please have a designated driver.
I lost my cousins to a drunk driver. They were only 8 and 12 years old.
Their lives were cut short because the driver was drunk and made a terrible choice.
Make good choices. Have a designated driver.
If you or a loved one has a problem with drugs or alcohol, now may be a great time for the gift of sobriety.
You can call Keystone Treatment Center at 844-204-1055.
That's toll-free, 844-204-1055.
John and Heidi.
The Health and Safety Commission of Great Britain has spent, or should we say wasted, $500,000 on a 2-year study that has determined that bowling alleys are, quote, a very dangerous environment for families, end quote. The so-called safety experts concluded that it was too easy for children or teenagers to run down the lanes and get trapped in the machinery. Have they ever been to a bowling alley?
Exactly. This is ridiculous.
The 10-Pin Bowling Proprietors Association said that they watched the inspectors examining a bowling alley and found their attempts to detect possible dangers, quote, hilarious. The health and safety executives reported that bowlers would be at risk if they walked along the 60-foot lanes to knock over the pins by hand.
Who would do that?
There's never been a single case in the entire country of England. The commission considered ordering every bowling alley in England to put up barriers across the lanes so nobody would try to walk down the lanes.
Have you ever seen
Never
anyone
seen that
try
done.
to do that?
No.
Other than the people who work there when they have to unjam the stupid machines.
Yeah. And I actually think I read this story before. I think this is like a year old. I think we read this a year ago. But either way, it's a bizarre story. And I said it had to do with bowling in your breath. I was wrong. It was just bowling.
I was wondering where the breath was coming from.
I don't know. I read that wrong. It says, is bowling bad for your health?
Well,
yeah. So sorry about those of you waiting on bated breath for that breath part. Yeah, never going to happen. But we do have some good news, and I promise it's good news. You know who submitted today's good news?
me.
Yes, you. And it is good news. Thanks for sharing it, Heidi, even though you did it wrong once again. We'll get to that in a bit. Thanks. She's doing that on purpose. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Friday.
John and Heidi.
This portion of the John and Heidi Show is brought to you by the John and Heidi Show. That sounds kind of funny, but it's true. Go to your local radio station and ask them to start carrying the John and Heidi Show. Here's the best part. They can carry the show for free. They play a couple commercials, but it doesn't cost them anything every month. So if you know a radio station that could use a little bit of help, send them our way. Send them to johnandheidishow.com. Again, johnandheidishow.com. We would love to do a radio program in your community. Then you could listen to the podcast and listen to us on the radio.
John and Heidi.
We always try to wrap this program up with some good news, and today I think this is pretty darn good news. It's a video. It's going to be hard to show on the radio, but we can tell.
You definitely need to watch this
We'll
one.
tell you what it is, but I do encourage you to check it out. And then, as always, share it as well. You know, spread the wealth. Let people know about how cool it is and share all the positive things. We try to put a lot of good vibes out there for people. So I'm going to let you describe what happens in today's video.
A gentleman was sleeping on a park bench, homeless man, and a man came up while he was asleep and slid some money.
Like $20 or $50 or something.
Right next to him. And when the man woke up, he was so excited, and he went into a store and he bought himself a blanket and some pillows because he needed them.
And a coat. And they
Yes, and a
videotaped this
coat.
from a distance. So this
Yeah.
guy had no clue he was being recorded.
Right. And then when he came back, he was just sitting there on the bench again with his stuff, and he was just so happy. I mean, you could just see how happy he was that he had all of this new stuff. And the man that gave him the money while he was sleeping came back and sat next to him and said, "Oh man, I don't know what I'm going to do. I've got to buy my daughter some medicine, and I don't get money for 5 more days yet, and she relies on me," and just was going on and on and on about how stressed out he was because he couldn't get his daughter some medicine. And this gentleman asked
homeless
if,
man.
the homeless man said, "Will you please watch my backpack? I'll be right back." And he went in and returned all of the items that he had just bought for himself, and then came back out and sat back next to the man who said he needed the money for his daughter, and he handed him the money that he had just been given earlier that day. And the guy said, "Well,
Don't you need that?
yeah, don't you need that?" And he said, "Oh, I just bought some blankets and some pillows." He said, "I can get by without them. I've been getting by without them. I can get by without them. Sounds like you need this more than I do."
Isn't that neat?
And the man that that got the money was just like, that is very inspirational. I can't believe that you just did that. He said, here's $500 more.
Yeah.
He said, now you go back into that store and you get the stuff that you had before and get yourself a place to sleep and get yourself something to eat. And he said, I'm just very inspired by you. Thank you
That was
very
neat.
much. Yeah, it was.
Are you tearing up over there telling me this?
No. I was like, that is such a neat.
I think you are.
I am not.
You are, but that's okay, Heidi.
Oh my God. That's
It's okay.
you.
It is me. I'm tearing up as you're telling me about it.
But it was just really awesome
It
to
is
see
inspiring.
that there's somebody who needed something so badly and was willing to just give it up to try to help somebody else. And I just think that's wonderful.
It is. Hey, if you'd like to see the video, I know Heidi described it very well, but if you'd like to see the
You
video,
have to see it.
You
It's
do. It's worth seeing.
awesome.
And then share it. If you're on Facebook, facebook.com/John and Heidi Show, and it's JOHNANDHEIDI. So I just want to, there's some other poor people out there with a similar name that keep getting our stuff. So sorry about that, John and Heidi. If you want to check that out, though, and then share it, I think that would be really a cool thing. Time to say goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, everybody. Have a great day. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show. We'll talk to you next year.